So, Gwen, until we looked at this with you guys in detail, I don't think I'd really appreciated just how far reaching the consequences are of getting it wrong. And they apply just as much to small businesses as they do to large ones, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. The management regulations and the Health and Safety at Work Act apply across the board. Dependent on your trade activities, obviously, there's various facets of each set of regulations that will apply to your business. And if you're non-compliant with them, then that's a criminal offence. So there'll naturally be consequences that can be that can be interrogated in court.
And that's an instant criminal offence for breaking a rule.
Absolutely, yeah. You're found to be non-compliant, and therefore the sort of scope of negligence will be investigated.
Awesome. And what happens if the court says, yes, actually, you did break the rule? What are you facing?
Well, it depends on a number of factors. Usually, the severity of the incident and the likelihood of the incident to occur, and whether that's been pre-assessed by you as a business. If you've not pre-assessed it and there's a potential high frequency and high severity of the incident, then it all comes down to the sentencing guidelines, which have recently been reissued. And they will go on the size of the business in terms of turnover, and then the severity of the incident. And there's a costing matrix which will eventually come out to the kind of sentence that you can expect to receive. That can be purely financial or a mix of custodial and financial.
So by custodial, you could get sent to prison in worst cases?
Absolutely, yes, in the most extreme cases, yeah.
Goodness. And just to be clear, this isn't a fine that could be covered by insurance or claimed back in some other way?
No, not at all, no. I think it's actually one of the principles of insurance that you can't actually cover for a fine that's been levied at you by an enforcing authority such as the Health and Safety Executive or the courts.
It's quite a serious thing then. How are you going to get found out? So who knows if you've broken a rule in the first place?
Well, you're regulated as businesses within the UK by two main regulators, either the Health and Safety Executive, which take care of kind of higher risk businesses, manufacturing, construction sectors, things like those. And then the local authority will regulate more of your kind of high street businesses, regulate more of and smaller family businesses, maybe some smaller warehousing operations. It doesn't really make any difference in terms of what you need to do from a compliance point of view, though, because the legislation is overarching. The Health and Safety at Work Act, the Health and Safety Management Regulations apply across the board. It's just how you interpret those for your business. And when you become regulated, either the local authority or the Health and Safety Executive Officer will come up to your business, knock on your door and say, I want to see how you're compliant with those regulations. And it's your duty then to show them how you interpret them and what sort of management systems you've got in place to comply.
And do they do this on a regular basis? So do they sort of annually review your compliance? Do you have to have a certificate or something to prove that you've been through that process? How does it work? I mean, are we going to get found out? What's the chance of them turning up on the doorstep and saying, I want to see whether you're compliant?
Well, again, there's a bit of a disparity between the two regulators. So if you take the Health and Safety Executive, they're extremely proactive. They will publicly announce schemes that they're looking at. There's one at the minute that's particularly relevant to people who are working with silica dust, which is a massive area of concern at the minute for the HSE. And they will proactively go out and monitor businesses. They'll turn up unannounced on a business's doorstep and ask to see the management control systems. The local authority, as a regulator, are a little bit less proactive. I think that's because they don't quite have the resource that the HSE have got. And of course, they're working with lower risk businesses inherently. So they have less of a scheme of proactive visits, but it's all available for you to check on your local council's website. They do. They will go out and proactively investigate businesses, just like I say, on a bit of a smaller scale than the HSE do.
So possibly more of a spot check basis, I guess.
Yeah. Well, both will operate spot check systems, but the HSEs will be a little bit more rigorous than a local authority.
So I guess the biggest risk actually of being found out is somebody complaining or something actually going wrong that comes to their attention.
That's usually the way that the regulator finds out. You know, there'll be a mole in the camp, or there'll be someone who's spotted something driving by a construction site or something, a member of the public, and they'll provide a tip off to the regulator, and it's down to them really then to kind of have a look at the severity of the tip off and then follow it up internally. You do also find that the regulator will follow up on RIDDOR, which is a specific area of regulation within the UK, known as the Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrences Regulations. That's a form that you have to fill out when an incident occurs in the workplace that fills a certain criteria, and that will get submitted centrally to the HSE and to the local authorities. They will then proactively review those RIDDOR assessments, and they'll then decide to come and follow up on those if they deem it necessary, if there's been a serious incident, an outbreak of a disease, or someone's had a particularly bad accident in the workplace.